Today I want to talk a little bit about insurance. If you've noticed, your insurance bills have likely gone up over the last year. I bet you're wondering, why is this? I'm going to talk today about why insurance is going up and what you can do personally to make sure that you're not paying too much for your car insurance, your house insurance, or any other insurance you have. Now, before we move on, I want to take a moment to ask for your support. If you do end up liking this video today, please be sure to like it below. Also, share a comment, and if you really enjoy this video, please subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications on future videos. Now let's jump into the content. I don't know about you, but I was looking at my latest insurance bill. I noticed that when my policy renewed for this year, I was paying an additional $100 per month. Now this seems like a lot. This is a big jump. I actually work through an insurance broker, and this broker is able to look at a variety of different options. But once you get stuck in a plan, it just continually renews. So in my case, I noticed this big jump. My budget was thrown off. I wondered, how did I lose this extra $100 a month? Where did it go? Well, definitely insurance costs have risen across the board, across the country. Now this is due to a number of reasons. And the first and most obvious is all of the natural disasters and other issues that have caused insurance companies to pay out tremendously large amounts. The wildfires in Los Angeles are the most recent example. This has been very expensive for those companies. And so accordingly, they're passing the costs on to the consumer. So we're all now experiencing increased costs because of these issues. On top of that, inflation has been a really big force to contend with. Now, this inflation has resulted in increased payout costs across the board as well. Also, your property values have gone up. Car values have gone up. And so the costs to fix these things when things do go wrong have therefore gone up. All of this translates into increased insurance costs for you and me day to day. So I don't anticipate this changing anytime soon. What can you do to be more proactive about your insurance? Well, there are a couple of things that I do every single year. The first is I call my insurance company. Now, you may be working specifically with one insurance company, or you might be working with a broker. Brokers tend to have access to a number of companies and can do some things for you to make sure that you're paying the lowest cost. If you're just with one company, then this restricts what they can do for you, but there are still ways for you to advocate for yourself. So the first thing you want to do is shop around. Make sure you're calling at least 3 other insurance agencies every year and getting a quote on everything that you want insured. Now this is challenging because you need to make sure that the insurance plans are equitable. A lot of these companies will quote you very low coverage for your automobile or your house, the very bare minimum. And when they do this, they bring the costs down, but you really aren't covered enough to protect yourself in the event of an emergency. So be very careful when you're shopping around to make sure that your deductibles and the costs of coverage for everything are equitable. Now, once you've done this, you'll have a few quotes to choose from. Simply compare those quotes to what you're currently paying. If you can get a better deal elsewhere, then just cancel your plan and transfer to a different agency. This can be a pain. You certainly don't want to have to do it every year, but if the savings is significant enough, and in my case, I usually target around 10%, if it's that good, I make the change. Now, the next thing you can do is be a strong self-advocate. A lot of people do not like talking to their insurance company. They don't like making the calls. They don't like asking the questions. But the truth is that if you want to save some money, you need to be proactive and advocate for yourself. I would recommend that you call your insurance company regularly. You can do a couple of things when you make this call. The first is you can ask for discounts. Companies often have discounts that are available. All you have to do is ask. In some cases, if you have a graduate level degree, you can get a discount. In some cases, if you have a clean driving record, you can get a discount. If you have a zero claim or low claim history, you can get another discount. In my personal case, I do automated payments, and because I've automated those payments every month, I get a 10% discount just for automation. This translates into a pretty significant amount of savings. So please, give your agent a call and ask for any type of discount. Explain that you feel like your prices have gone too high, and use that as leverage to motivate them to find you some additional discount in your pricing. Now, along with this, sometimes they'll allow you to pay a full year in advance. This may not be possible for you. That's pretty expensive. But if you can do it, sometimes you can get an additional savings rate that's pretty significant. So I encourage you to consider paying the entire year in advance. Now, if there is no savings here, don't do it. It's not worth it. Just pay monthly and automate that payment. Make it easy. Now, the other thing to consider are your coverage needs. You really need to understand what you're insuring. So specifically with automobiles, there are many different options. There's a deductible amount. This is something that you can change. The deductible is the amount that you pay first in the case of an accident or an issue. So if your deductible is higher, your rates tend to be lower because you're going to be paying more upfront out-of-pocket costs. Now, I always choose the higher deductible plan. The reason for this is, one, I don't get into accidents very often. In fact, I've never been in one at this point, and I don't anticipate getting into one in the future. I drive carefully, and I have a great deal of faith in my ability to avoid accidents. Now, of course, this could happen at any time. In fact, somebody else could hit me, but I choose the higher deductible because I think the odds are much lower that I not get in an accident. And what happens if you do get in an accident? Well, you understand what your deductible amount is. So if it's a little bit higher, let's say the lower amount is $500 and the higher amount is $1,000. Well, I know I have to plan for at least that $1,000 if something does happen. And so in my emergency fund, I make sure that I have the deductible amount prepared and ready to go in the case of an accident or any other kind of issue. The other key thing to consider is a bundle policy. That's when you bundle your home, your car, and any other kind of insurance. Let's say you have an umbrella policy that's protecting a larger estate or a larger amount of money. These things can be bundled together under the same company. And companies often offer significant discounts for multiple bundled rates. If you have multiple cars, for instance, you can get a better rate. So I encourage you to make sure that you're bundling whenever possible in order to increase your savings. Now, if you've done all of these things, you understand your insurance needs, you're not overcovered, but you're not undercovered, you've shopped around and you feel like you're paying a decent rate, you've asked for discounts, there's really only one other thing that I recommend you do, and that is to call and negotiate. People don't think that insurance companies are negotiable. They feel like these prices are fixed, they are what they are, and you can't escape them. In my experience, this is not true. You have to, again, go back to being a self-advocate. You need to call and say, I need you to reduce these rates. I would like to have much lower rates. And see what they can do. Now, sometimes they aren't going to work with you, but other companies tend to be more flexible and more open to negotiation. Now, you're not going to be able to cut your policies by 50%. You need to be realistic when you are negotiating, but when you see massive jumps or spikes in your insurance policy rates, take advantage of that moment. Leverage that moment to call, understand what's going on, and see if there's something that you might build into your policy to give you an additional discount. Like in all things finance, you really have to be your best personal self-advocate. This is the tool that I use in almost all aspects of my life, and it really helps me find additional savings across the board. Don't be shy. Call, ask uncomfortable questions, and get comfortable with rejection. If these companies say no, what's the worst that can happen? They say no. You're still insured. But if they do say yes and you find yourself an additional discount or some type of savings, you'll feel very validated and glad that you made that call. Thanks again for joining me today. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. I know we don't talk a lot about insurance and it's not a very exciting topic, but it really should be because it's both critical and something that you can save money on if you're proactive. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.